I've been going to the gym for a majority of my life, but it wasn't until this year that I had realized I had the wrong approach all along and wasn't using it to its fullest potential. To backtrack a bit, I've always been pretty active throughout my life. I always played sports growing up, whether it was organized stuff or pickup games with friends. However, I was never blessed genetically and always was one of the smaller kids in my class. This was especially evident when I started going to the gym as a freshman in high school and noticed that I was definitely one of the smaller guys on the football team. I was able to make it work, but bulking and pushing weight was always an uphill battle. And like most, I would train hard and push my body to places where it had no business being. And this would just result in shitty half reps or spending the next day or two just sore as all hell. And the funny thing is, despite all the effort that I was putting into it, I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And especially once I discovered pot, the gym became much less enticing, and I'd only find myself there every now and then. This, of course, did jack shit, just because I was busy getting baked and playing Mario Party. But eventually I got my shit together and became more consistent once I was out of college and just had more time in my schedule. I would go every day or every other day and could see myself getting stronger and feel myself getting stronger. But I still wasn't satisfied. I was envisioning Arnold, but would just see Gollum in the mirror. And I figured that the more I show up and the more I train my ass off, eventually I'll be Mr. Longtan and handsome. But that was only, again, just half the picture. At this point, I was consistent, and that was definitely there, but the intent was still pretty ass. Not only was my training aggressive, but some days I was using the gym as an outlet for anger. Many people would tell me that this is a good thing, though, that, ride the lightning and channel that energy into something positive. Uh, you know, just kind of get all pissed off, but, I felt that they couldn't be more wrong. And I wound up learning this the hard way when I approached a workout with this mentality in mind and decided to take it out on some back squats. I was full of piss and vinegar, and I just was very short sighted. And I got under that bar without properly stretching and warming up, just kind of wanted to get in there and just bang out some weights. And I wound up with a herniated disc and some back pain that still kind of, to this day, still affects me. It took me several years of physical therapy, stretching, and just carefully moving around to be able to function normally again. And oh, excuse me. Eventually, I was able to find myself back on the gym floor. But I definitely learned a valuable lesson from that. But I still did not know what I know today. Now, I know I've talked about this in the past in previous videos, but this has definitely been a challenging year for me. Um, but also a very important one because I've just had a lot of, you know, changes of heart or some just perspective shifts that have gone a long way. Now, earlier this year, when things weren't going my way and I kind of had the weight of the world on my shoulders, I fell into these old habits and wanted to take out my anger in the gym. This time, though, I was a bit more careful. I didn't want to get hurt again. But it took me a few sessions to realize that I actually wasn't solving shit. Instead of relieving the stress that I was going through, I was just relocating it. The dark cloud that hung over me in my apartment just followed me to the gym. I went from being depressed to being depressed and sweaty. This wasn't an overnight epiphany, but gradually I was able to notice this pattern and just realize that the gym wasn't doing a whole lot for me, at least not in the way that I was intending it to. So the biggest reframe that I came to was that the gym had to become a vacation for me. It was no longer a workout, it was just a place for me to escape. Life was kicking me in the ass due to factors that were outside of my control, so I needed to go to a place where I could have control for once. I was spinning my wheels and just devoting too much time and energy to things that just weren't cooperating. The gym was different though. The amount of energy that I would pour into it would directly correlate with what I got out of it. Nobody could stop me from going and doing what I wanted to do. And for the first time ever, I was no longer chasing big numbers and rather just spending an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours in this paradise. And to maintain this safe haven, I started to add new things to the process. I started doing things like putting my phone on Do Not Disturb just so I couldn't be bothered. Um, I also began tracking my workouts a bit closer, a bit cleaner. And I've been following programs with ChatGPT just to keep myself accountable and watch my numbers grow. And overall, this kind of made the gym less of a hobby and more of a necessity for me. Now, I don't want to sound like some gym bro from douchebag.com, but I will say, ever since I reframed my approach and started coming to the gym with this intent, I've definitely seen a lot more progress, more than ever, in all honesty. I'm much more intentional with keeping the weights safe, but I am also able to quietly increase it over time. And at the moment, my bench numbers are up, my squats are up, and I feel great overall. It wasn't until I stopped forcing an outcome that the outcome I had been chasing my whole life started to meet me in the middle. Now, I've still got a ways to go before I hit some of my ultimate life milestones, but I do know that they will find me as long as I keep showing up. And again, the gym is no longer for me a muscle factory, but it's just my mental paradise that I get to visit 3 to 4 times a week. I know Mark Zuckerberg's got a private mansion in Miami, but I've got my gym membership, and I'm okay with that. My only concern at this point is getting hurt again and losing the keys to my private island. But with the way I've been training, I think I'll be all right. Now, the funny thing is that this lesson started following me for other parts of my life as well. Whether it's the gym or walking my dog, like you see here, or hitting golf balls, or even just making these videos, I found that the harder I try to force an outcome, the more likely I am to get discouraged. So when I focus on just being consistent, showing up, and just enjoying the process, things kind of work out naturally. So maybe that's the real lesson that I've learned from the gym and the reason why it means so much to me now. It's one of the few places where I can just shut the world off for a while and focus on something that's completely within my control and trust that the results will come eventually. And not because I chased them, but because I showed up.